So I say this all the time because it's true, right? People always say like you trying to make it racial. It's not racial. It is racial. This is America, and in America, when there's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot they don't want you asking questions about, and if there's a lot they trying to distract you from, you have the psyops, the false flags, and then you have the bread and butter, which is making it racial. All right. So, you know, everybody's being priced out when it comes to housing. You're going to be priced out. You don't make enough, right? Corporations is greedy. You got hedge fund groups or what they call them? What is called Vanguard and BlackRock and what's the other one? State Farm or State something. I don't fucking know. All right. And all these groups is buying up all the housing developments and shit. Not to mention that they putting up like Lego houses and shit. You feel me? Where if you leave a cigarette burner, you burn the whole fucking building down. You feel me? Because the houses are like cheaply fucking made, where the a windstorm or collapse the whole fucking foundation. All right, but that's another story. So we have a homeless problem, right? So we're gonna put a black face on that. We have a I guess we're having a problem with mental illness, and we're gonna put a black face on that because this is America, and in America we're gonna put a black face on every problem. Now, we're gonna a mental illness and homeless problem where mentally ill people are homeless and shit. So we're gonna put a black face on it, and we're gonna highlight the crimes that a few mentally ill black people have done. But in those crimes, we have to make sure the ones that we highlight that the victim is white, so we can also give the illusion that white people are under attack by black people, because in this new American media and the way the story is framed now, the way the narratives are now, white people are under attack by black people, right? Black people are attacking white people, along with the great replacement plan where we're in the world where we're trying to replace white people and make them the world's minority, when in actuality they are already the world's minority, right? It's just here in the States where they are the majority, right? Where they're, yeah, in the States, we got in the Western world we got a warped sense where we think that white people is the global majority. They're not, right? If we're being correct and factual, you know what I mean? But here in America, where everything is about race, it will always be about race. It'll never be about people and what's good for people or no shit like that. It'll always be about money and race, right? Capitalism is always going to be about race and whatever we can do to divide the people so the elite class can keep their pockets fat, right? And so the elite class can continue to do all the bullshit that they do and play the games that they play, right? Which is why now that you have these files coming out, right? One, you have think about this, right? All the companies that are making money hand over fist, that made money hand over fist during COVID, right? While everybody was losing their jobs and losing their residents, basically losing their livelihood, right? Um, Being put out in the streets because they lost their job because they refused to get a vax, and becoming part of the homeless, basically, right? Nobody give a fuck about that, right? They just wanted to push this vax on you. You get that, right? Okay, cool. But nobody cares about the fallout. All the people that lost their jobs behind it, their careers behind it, um, all the people that end up homeless behind it, right? Then after everything was over, they just made it seem like people didn't want to work. When you fired the whole working class of people because they didn't want to do what you say. Basically, you told them to do something and they didn't want to do it, so they got fired. Okay, cool. It is what it is, right? This is America. This is how it happens. Okay, so we have a problem with homelessness and mental illness. Of course we do. This is America. You feel me? If you don't know how to navigate this shit, you're gonna lose your mind. You're gonna go crazy if you don't know how to navigate through the bullshit, right? Because you're gonna drive yourself crazy. But okay, so pricing everybody out. We don't have anything. We live in here. It's like one of the highest states to live in, right? You probably need 3 working adults in your house to cover the bills to manage, right? But okay. But here in America, we don't care about that. You know what I mean? You know, long as the rich get richer, because there's no middle class. We can pretend that there's like 3 classes of people, but there's really like rich, super wealthy, elite, and then poor. Working poor, basically. But America doesn't tackle those problems. American media doesn't even do any, they don't talk about that kind of stuff, right? They push agendas and narratives. So when you start getting into what's important to the people, what they voted for or what we voted for, we don't get into that, right? We don't get into what the people actually want in this country. We get into narratives and how to spin narratives. And the quickest way to get everybody up in arms is race. It is what it is, right? We play racial groups against each other, right? We do that here in America. That's what it's about. It's going to always be about race before it's about anything else, right? Yeah, it is what it is. So we're going to put a black face on homelessness. But it seems like people attack problems when you put a black face on it, right? They also attack our group, but then that's when it becomes a problem when black homelessness is interfering with white life, I guess, right? So if you think about that, then you think about all the homeless whites, right? Because there's a park around here. It's like a tent city, right? And the majority of its homeless residents are white, but nobody cares. You feel me? And you would think, because the majority of the politicians and the rule makers are white, you would think if they know there's a city full of homeless whites that they would want to do something about it. No. Because what people don't understand, and what a lot of poor whites don't understand, it seems to me, is that, yeah, you're white, but you're not rich white, or I guess even a little middle class white. No, you're just poor white. So to them, that's like you're trash white, right? And they're gonna look over the trash white, right? Because they know when it all boils down and shit has to be done, we're gonna get the white trash to do the dirty work of the elite white rich class. It is what it is, right? You feel me? And we're gonna get them angry and in the streets and doing what we need them to do. We're gonna get them to run to the polls. I mean, they're gonna do the law. We're gonna make the laws we want to make anyway. But it's always better when we have all of those white trash whites on our side. That's how the elite class look at it. It is what it is, and this is how it's always been on some real shit, right? Even during slavery or indentured servitude, right? This is how it always been, right? We have to we use them. They're used to do the dirty work of the elite, right? Of the people that really stand behind the curtain. You know what I mean? But some of them are so stupid they don't look behind the veil. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? So long as we put a black face on it, everything is justified, right? We're gonna lock up homeless people for trespassing and loitering and shit like that because they don't have nowhere to live, right? So we're gonna ban them from parks and shit. You know what I mean? Cause they have been taking over the parks and shit. But where you expect them to go? They don't have nothing, and there's not like shelters galore not like that, right? We gonna have places for them to go. Low income housing is not really low income housing, right? When everything in the neighborhood is 1,200 and up, all right, that's 1,200 and up. Do you need first, last, and security, right? But your job is paying you what, 500 a week, 500 a week. I think the cheapest studio I seen recently was like 1,600, right? And a studio is basically an efficiency, you know what I mean? And it's like 1,600 for that. So, and if you're making like $15 an hour, you're not really making enough to get where you need to go in life. You know what I mean? $15 an hour minimum wage. That's really no money. When I think here you need to at least make 36 or something like that. 30 to 36, I think. I forgot what it is to, that has to be your average medium income to, sustain a you know what I mean? Quality life here, right? Because it's high as fuck to live here, I'm telling you. You feel me? It's high as fuck. But, you know what I'm saying? All we do, though, instead of focusing on what the real problem is and what really needs to happen, we just focus on race. We make everything racial. I say this shit all the time because every time you get to a point where shit is actually being looked at, we make it racial. So we're making it a mental illness, homeless, black problem that white people have to deal with because white people are being attacked by mentally ill, homeless, black people. That's the story we're going to frame, right? Okay, so that's the story we're going to frame. So we're going to create laws or we're going to create rules to target the homeless. What people don't understand is that mentally ill, homeless people are not all black. There are some white mentally ill homeless people too. And I'm pretty sure they out here doing some wild shit. But we're not gonna cover those stories because those stories don't move the needle. Those stories don't get people enraged and make them feel a way or make them feel like we have to do something about it legally. Right? It's only when you put a black face on it where we feel like, oh, we got to do something about it legally. And when we start putting these laws in, it's usually a law that's so fucked up, right? But at the time when people running to vote for it, they don't think it's gonna affect them. You feel me? They just see the black faces that they putting on it. But once it's on paper, that law is for everybody. Right? So if you're white or you know somebody that's going through it, sleeping in their car in the Walmart parking lot or some shit like that, or behind Publix or something like that. You feel me? That law is gonna affect them too. You feel me? Yeah. You're gonna come to your homeless white ass like, get the fuck out of here. Flip your shopping cart over, you feel me? Flip your basket over with all your belongings in it and take you to jail and shit. Yeah. You feel me? Some people don't understand. You feel me? They on the news and the media, they frame it. They try to make it a black thing. You feel me? I'm telling you, they try to make it as a black thing, so you think that this is just a law implemented to target black people. But the law is the law, right? And people always say, you just follow the law. If you just follow the law. Again, like with the ICE raids and them shooting a white woman in the face, shooting a white man, killing him for being armed at a protest, labeling him like a terrorist or some crazy shit, or whatever the fuck they said he was and shit. And Kristi Noem getting up there, basically finger wagging and making it seem like he was a naughty boy. You feel me? And even Trump, the Trumpster, and J.D. Vance, trying to make it seem like ICE agents are under attack and they're defending their life by killing people, right? But this is what they do. You feel me? Even when Obama was in with the blue law alert or whatever the fuck it was, you feel me? And they was shooting niggas down in the street like a motherfucker under Obama, right? I mean, they don't talk about it like under Biden. A lot of stories was kept hush hush because Biden and the Democrats are supposed to be for the black people. You feel me? They're not. But that's how they got the party set up. They even do the parties and make it racial with the parties. You feel me? Democrats are black. Republicans are white. And if you're black and you're a Republican, you're a sellout. Right? Are you serious? Liberals, conservatives, you feel me? Hey man, you should vote. You shouldn't belong to a party anyway. You should be independent. You should vote for the party that's gonna do something for your ass. And I don't care if it's red or blue. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they're both the same. And if you're black, it doesn't matter what face the racist is wearing. You know what I mean? A racist is a racist, whether he's a Democrat or a Republican. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Because when you're being killed on video or beat down like Rodney King in the streets, and the president or your local congressman or your mayor or whoever your representative is, get out and make excuses for it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just seen a video recently. I know this was like 10 years ago where this white man was, I think, shot to death in the hotel lobby. And he was doing everything they asked him to do. Put your hands up, cross your legs, crawl to me. And every time they was like giving him all kind of confusing orders and shit, right? But he was begging for his life basically. And the motherfucker was like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna shoot you if you don't. And you can clearly see he didn't have a weapon, he didn't have nothing. He was basically begging for his fucking life, and then killed him anyway. And then received his pension and I think he sued or something, and walked off into the sunset. Killed the man on video and walked off into the sunset and was treated like a fucking hero. Right? And this wasn't a black man he shot. This was a white police officer who killed a white man who was very innocent white man at that. Right? So, you know what I mean? But there was no, and people always like, yeah, when black white people get killed by the police, there's no protest. That's some shit. That's y'all fault. Because y'all weaponize the police. You feel like the police is on your side. The police is, what's the little white power sign? And the police is for the white people. You know what I mean? White people protection. Yeah, but so when they killing y'all and fucking y'all up, and the news doesn't cover it, it's because they don't want you to look at the police for what they are: paid mercenaries. You feel me? I mean, yeah, they terrorize black communities. Yeah. But given the chance, they terrorize white people too, whenever they feel like it. You know what I mean? You may get more leeway. You're able to argue with them more and go back and forth with them more and shit. But if they want to, they can just pull out blam, blam, and go home and be like, yeah, shot a guy today. I don't think he's going to make it. Oh, honey. Yeah, but I exploded that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Because I don't heard a motherfucker say that on body cam. You know what I mean? Exploded his head or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They don't give a fuck. You feel me? Then, they create a group chat and talk about it. Yeah. They're savages. Animals. They're barbaric. You feel me? Soulless. Killing machines. All right? That's why to be an officer, you don't really have to be that intelligent. You just have to be able to follow orders. All right? You don't have to be a guy of no substance, no intelligence, no morals. You know what I mean? Here, you take this gun and you do whatever you see fit with it. Pretty much. Right? Yeah, but we're going to keep it racial. So we're only going to show when a white officer kills a black man or a black woman. Because you got to keep the racial tension going, because it's America. And people are like, oh, you don't say about race. Because this is America. It's always about fucking race. Right? You're just stupid. You're just stupid. And you think when they start creating these laws and shit, because they show a couple black people that on TV and they're like, oh, because of this black guy, this black guy did this, or this black woman did this, glossing over the hundreds of white men, the hundreds of white women, and the hundreds of white children and teens and, young adults that be doing all this bullshit. Yeah, we're going to gloss over all of them. We're going to use this black person's, the image of the scary black man, the boogeyman black, to get these laws passed, right? And then these laws are going to fuck everybody. But you ran and championed them laws, and voted for them and whatever, because on TV was the image of the scary black guy, the monster, the boogeyman, the daywalker. You feel me? Yeah. Tricking you every time. Using your prejudice, using your racism, using the fact that you think you're some kind of superior being, or you think that you're the closest thing to God, using all of that shit to sign your own death warrant, basically. You feel me? So, you feel me? You're signing over all your rights. You feel me? Your everything, all of your freedoms is gone. It's disappearing. You feel me? And you're doing that because you think you're sticking it to a nigga. You feel me? And you're just sticking it to yourself. Dumb motherfucker. And the whole time you doing this, right? You're not even a part of the protected class. You feel me? You're no different when it comes to who's really pulling the strings, right? The people that really pull the strings, they don't give a fuck about you either, right? But you think you do. You think that they do. Because you're white. You don't belong to the club, even if you're white. And then you have some, you have a couple Latinos and Spanish people who are whatever. They come over and they try to assimilate whiteness and shit, and then they wake up call too. Like, bro, you're not one of us. You feel me? Foreigners come over here, you feel me? Black foreigners come over here and shit. They try to assimilate and hey, we're gonna use you and milk you, to push agendas and get points across, that we want to get across, you feel me? But you're not one of us. You feel me? And then they just like what's his name? Vivek or whatever the fuck his name is, you feel me? Shit. Just like JD Van's wife, shit. She gonna get her wake up call soon. If she ain't got it already. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Motherfuckers be, come on, bro. You feel me? Motherfuckers think they in. You're not in. You don't belong. You don't belong here. You're not a part of the club. You know what I'm saying? So, motherfucker be trying to be a token. You feel me? Token black, token Indian, token Hispanic, whatever. You feel me? Latinos for Trump. Not even on TV acting sad. When he told you he was going to deport motherfuckers because motherfucker was running across the border. Motherfucker wasn't even running across the border on the bike. Motherfucker was packing up their whole highs and just walking into the country. And we was like, yeah, come in, yeah. We had our borders all down there shaking hands and handing out checks. Now we got ice in the streets and everybody's upset. Hey, this is what happens when you take advantage of shit, right? You started taking advantage. Once you start taking advantage, people start taking advantage of the border. So extreme measures has to be taken to get the border back under control. Now people are like, oh, we don't have working class. There's a lot of people out here willing to work. You got to be willing to pay them. But you're not willing to pay them. And this is why we have a homeless problem. Because you're not making enough. People are not making enough to pay the fucking bills. This is why they living in parks and tent cities. But you're going to replace parks and tent cities with jail cells because we make money off prisoners and free labor. People so stupid they can't see the forest through the trees. Prisons can sue states for not keeping beds full. It's a big business, man. So when you see all these homeless people and you think, oh, they don't want to work. They don't want to work. Remember, during COVID, a lot of people got fired. Remember, they're not paying a living wage. Remember when the corporate execs and the people that run those businesses, they got to have mega yachts, They got to have a house that take up 5 city blocks. They got to have a vacation home and a cabin in the woods. You know what I mean? They got to have a private jet. You feel me? They got to have all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And you have to work overtime, double time, and on holidays to pay your bills, to keep the lights on, to keep some groceries, to keep your car insurance paid, your flood insurance, your wind insurance, your natural disaster insurance, and all this other extra shit. I don't know, whatever else you got to insure. Renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance. It keep going up. But it's okay. Because our CEOs and CFOs and COOs and all of these other motherfuckers, you feel me? They get a big check, quarterly bonuses and shit. You feel me? They get to enjoy their life. While you struggle. While you wake up early in the morning and go to bed late. This is America.